All right, change of scenery today. A little bit. So, don't worry. Not only do I have this one, I have this one.
I saw that post for that second
I have
one.
this one. I have this one. I have all of them.
You're over.
How are you, man?
Dude, I'm so. Do you remember like one of the first episodes we did? We talked about how I never know when like I could use a break, and then I take one, and I'm like, oh. That's what last weekend was. I hardcore took off, didn't look at anything for 3 days, and I feel like I'm on steroids the last 4.
That's not a bad thing. Good for you. A lot of good biz dev this week.
Crazy. It's like my own feelings aside about this phase 2 stuff that did or did not happen today. It seems like everybody's like, okay, like we made it or are close to making it. So people are starting to get real serious real fast. And like, it's whatever. It's going to be a tidal wave, but I'm fine with it. It's like that tidal wave that was going to hit us in like February, March that we were ready for. Then all this happened. All of that is just getting put to right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's not a bad thing though.
Not whatsoever.
All right, so let's do this. So this is perfect. So I have some toys here to play with for this weekend. So about an hour, I was hoping that these would show up. So about an hour before the show, I got sent these. I don't know if you can see them. Novo Fogo Sparkling Cabernet. I can never pronounce this name. Cabernet cocktails. I have original lime. I have mango and lime, and then I have passion fruit and lime. So one cooler of the two Rileys is going to be very happy this weekend when she does her dance party tonight.
So maybe bust out a few extra moves after those.
She said she's going to have to put out her good sneakers tonight. So the point is, and I'm really glad these showed up today. The title of this stream is How Have Your Consumption Habits Changed During Quarantine? And I think we talk a lot about, media, we talk a lot about branding, but I think, direct to market, direct to consumer is a real thing. The other one I want to talk about in a minute is this one. It's a Joya grapefruit canned cocktail. So there's two different things directly, and I'll start with an example that have changed personally. So this product, the Fogo product, as you know, I'm in the beverage space with some of my clients, which is a fun spot to be in. I saw this as an Instagram story ad. I was flipping through just on my stories, and in between, two of my favorite, I forget who it was. It doesn't matter who it was. I saw this canned cocktail. It was probably a Key Branding Lab Instagram stories. I'm sure what it was.
No doubt.
And I saw it, and it said voted the best canned cocktail on whatever Food and Wine magazine or Food and Whatever magazine. So guess what? I swiped right up, and it took me right to their landing page. And these guys, they're made in Brazil, and they must have a distributor like down in the Miami Beach area or somewhere in Florida. It took me 2 weeks to get these. I went right directly to their website. I plugged in all the information, and they were just delivered. So they're obviously having a lot of success just based on the swipe up feature, because they said, sorry, we're out of product. But then it just shipped on Monday, and it just arrived today perfectly. So my consumption habits, I don't think before this I've ever purchased anything on a swipe up through an Instagram story. So it caught me. I know I want to make less trips out to the store. I want to make less trips out to the bottle shop. And boom, there you go. You got cocktails for the weekend.
That's what life looks like now.
So the second part of my story is I have no idea who these people are. I don't know. I didn't have any sort of brand context with them previous to this. Now, somebody I do have brand context with, somebody I do know, is my local bottle shop. So it's J.S. Height & Sons right here in the Village Cazenovia. It's my favorite bottle shop. She's never steered me wrong with any sort of wine. She's the person that when I walk into the store, she goes, all right, what are you in the mood for? And I tell her, she goes, well, what are you pairing with it? And I tell her, and we always joke back and forth. I always ask, all right, what do you want to sell me today? So she'll get, a bottle of red, she'll get a bottle of white, and then she'll always put kind of something new in there. So last summer, she knows that Siobhan loves grapefruit. She loves grapefruit flavors in her Riesling. She loves grapefruit everything. So she came up with these, and I don't even ask her anymore, but she ended up throwing these into my cart. My point is, I called her, I texted her and I said, hey, I'll be there in about an hour. Fill me up for the weekend, whatever you want to do. So she goes, not a problem. Guess what I got in for Siobhan for this weekend. So she knew she knew a year ago that Siobhan goes nuts for these things, and she took the time out of her schedule to order these specifically for Siobhan, and she's going to be selling a lot of these this summer. So 2 different Instagram stories, local retail, all doing the same things. That's how you're going to survive in this new normal.
You mean you didn't see a picture of those in your local newspaper and decide to buy them?
No, and I didn't see them on a billboard on 690 either.
Weird. No, dude, it's one of the things that I just went biz dev crazy this week because I was so re-energized and just so fired up when I came back, and it just feels like the whole phrase "the new normal" I think is so overblown, but I think it's just accelerated people that may have been lagging behind to catch up. And just the amount of conversations, even just yesterday, that I had where people are like, all that shit you've been talking about for the last year, like, I get it now.
Yep.
I get that having 6 different campaigns, one targeted at 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, on Facebook and on Instagram that link to our website, and we can look at traffic and we can look at sales, and we could actually see how much money we're making versus how much we're spending on advertising. We're like, this is crazy. I didn't think you could do that in this world. And I'm just like, yeah, man, like 10% of me gets frustrated because like, you think I was just making this up? Right. But then 90% of me is like, okay, like, let's go on this, So it's been really cool to see, but at the same time, I know what's coming on the back end of that.
Yep.
It's the same way, you used to be able to spend $60 on Facebook ads 5 years ago, and now you got to spend $300 to do the same thing. So just kind of looking at how all of that's going to change. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to be a lot of work for a lot of people. And it's just, I'm very excited to see how it's going to break down.
So what have you cut out of your life since this all started? Where are you consuming less and where are you consuming more?
I mean, I'm just like a weird human when it comes to that. So I don't know if I'm like,
you don't have to say which shows, just which platforms.
So like everything has been on here. I think even if you look, like the TV networks are starting to figure it out. So, full seasons are available on YouTube right now. You don't necessarily need your streaming service anymore. And then what people I think you're seeing is all of a sudden, you get hit with a Facebook ad, or even Facebook's doing more and more of those suggested for you type things in your feed where they're not even paid placements. They're just trying to put more relevant stuff in front of you where they're like manufacturing the wormhole for you to go down, So just to kind of see that, but like, I haven't watched 12 hours of TV the last 3 months.
Yep.
Just because, like, especially with me, like, if it's not one of my sports teams, and I just don't care. And right. Obviously I haven't had any of that. I watched a little bit of Korean baseball, but that's about it. But everything's on here. We went, just getting stuff, for the lake house. We talk about the stuff we want to get, and then we look online, Lowe's and Home Depot, and like what people have in stock where I can order it last night and pick it up on the way home today. I would have never done that 4 months ago. I think people are just realizing, like, holy shit, like, all this technology has always been here. You've been able to buy online and pick up in store, have it delivered for years. But now that that's just straight up the only way, it's just, there's this flood of it where it's like, oh, and then obviously just doing what we do, you see the back end of stuff. And now like Home Depot's like, hey man, you bought this fire pit ring last night. Do you want to look at these other 17 things that might be good if you're renovating a lake house? Like, it's just, it's crazy.
Other than trying on clothes, Justin, ahoy hoy, thanks for checking in, man. Other than trying on clothes, I was struggling to figure out what I would need to actually physically walk into a retail store from now on that I couldn't pick up at the corner. So the kids' birthdays are super close to one another, and we wanted to do something that we could do as a family and be active and be outside. So we bought them paddle boards from Dick's Sporting Goods, and like I called the guy on a Sunday morning just to check stock. So we went on the website, we found out, we did all the reviews, we asked a couple family and friends that have these things, like what's a good brand, how much should we be spending, just to confirm all that stuff. So I had to call the guy to see what he had in stock in DeWitt here in Syracuse. And he goes, yeah, no problem. I said, can I have two? He goes, sure, not a problem. He said, you have a vehicle big enough to bring it? I said, I think so. Let's figure it out. So there I was at 10:45 in the morning on a Sunday morning at Dick's Sporting Goods in DeWitt, strapping two 11.5-foot things on, these paddle boards on the top of my SUV, and off I went. I'm like, wait a minute. If I can do this from now on, and I don't have to walk into Dick's Sporting Goods, and I can have a bucket of baseballs and a pair of Air Max 11s, and I can have this ready, and I can have this, restringing kit for the lacrosse stick or whatever I need, and somebody can roll it out to me and I don't even have to get out of my car. Yeah. That's one of the things I'm taking forward after this is all done. No question.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be the neat part, about what we do, is that, it's cool to kind of see yourself evolve and just watch your behaviors change and to pay attention to that. But then even like, as we're starting to kind of just talk about it with our clients, like especially our people that have been with us, 4, 5, 6 years, we talk about this, and then I look at them and I'm like, you realize we have to do all this now. You know what I mean? Everything is online. Everything is here, e-commerce, shipping, you name it. This is literally the blueprint for like what people are going to do.
Right.
So just kind of coming into this, like, okay, cool. And like, yeah, some stuff will go back to normal. Yes, for sure. You're going to have, old school people that are the same people that, always said, I'll never have a cell phone. I'll never be on Facebook. I'll never have an Instagram. You do, but to look at it now, and like I had a great call yesterday with talking about how we can incorporate more of that into what we do. So like if we have a client that doesn't have, an up-to-date website or the ability to create landing pages on the fly and stuff like that, just to really kind of complete that circle. And they're just like, if you could see the smoke coming out of my ears from just the wheels turning, it'd be crazy. But it makes you stop and realize how much opportunity is there and how much potential is there and how much we're just not leveraging that for a lot of people. So it's a huge, huge challenge, but a huge, huge opportunity too. And like, I'm just super excited that like, we are going to we already have been, but even just like to multiply that by 100, really kind of ramp that up and like actually have that drive business.
Exactly. A ton of you watching right now. Thank you, PJ, Lottie. My mom's watching. Thank you. I know you missed the show last week. We got sucked into Memorial Day festivities. Trisha, thanks for watching. Lottie has a good point. He goes, you know what? Not walking into a retail shop, that gets rid of a lot of anxiety for people. I think a lot of what's gonna come out of this is there was a lot of people that were feeling social anxiety walking into a store, walking into a large crowd. I can't particularly tell you that I loved walking into Destiny USA at any time. I understand that I'm a child of 9/11, and that's always going to stick in the back of my mind for very good reasons. But I think, Michael, thanks for joining. Good to see you. I think that's a lot of what we're going to hear from this, is that there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of that from people that either had social anxieties before, or to be quite frank, have developed social anxieties through all of this. we're going to need to talk a lot about this, a lot about mental health moving forward, and not only be empathetic. And I know as the days go by, empathy is waning day by day by day, and becoming harder. But I think he makes a great point that somebody like him who potentially did have some anxiety, Pam, glad we're back today as well. It's great to see you. I'm sure Herb's right there too. I'm sure a lot of that is going to need to be talked about. But to your point, your distribution system, your sales system, I don't care if you're selling mops, I don't care if you're selling a service, I don't care if you're selling mental health. You need to go where people are already consuming that style of content. Because if you're not, you're created unneeded friction, which is going to lead you to less sales no matter what you're selling.
Yeah, and I think like the big thing with that, and it's the thing that we preach with all of our clients, and we've talked about it 100 times on the show, is that the only thing that matters is what they're doing out there. It doesn't matter what platforms I'm comfortable on or I want to put them on that are easy for us. Wherever people are consuming anything, if you want to have success and you want to grow and you want to accomplish all the things that everybody says they want to accomplish, you have to find a way to be there. And I think that the one thing that, we're starting to see, because we just constantly watch this kind of stuff, but once this kind of comes out, I think you're going to see it a lot more. People's behavior are changing dramatically, especially of like slightly older generations, like the baby boomer generation. Like I see it with my dad all the time. They're less and less sitting down and watching the 6 o'clock news because, that's been going on for a while, but like, A, so much of it is so antiquated, and B, there's nothing for them to fucking talk about. There's nothing happening. So they're kind of just trying to figure out, what else can I do? What else can I watch? What else can I pay attention to? So like, my dad's been going on YouTube and like watching live concerts of like Molly Hatchet and Leonard Skinner. And then YouTube does what YouTube does and pulls him down the rabbit hole where all of a sudden, instead of him sitting there, and watching the news and getting his weather through, Channel 12 and all of this, everything for him's on here. So guess what? If you're a company that was selling to him 4 years ago, then you got to change what you're doing. And it's one of those things where like, if you can be proactive about it right now, you're going to do some real damage and you're going to win.
Yep. If
you go back to exactly what you were doing before, it's going to be a slow loss of stuff, but this is the kind of stuff that you got to pay attention to.
We have a great question coming from our buddy Eric Cole that leads right into what you were just saying. He goes, what are the ramifications, both personally and business-wise, for of this overall? We're going on month number 3. This is a very big deal what we're all dealing with, of less social interaction when it comes to business, either your own business or others' businesses, and society as a whole. So if your business, let's stick to the business side of it for a moment. If you own a business that was predicated on being face-to-face before this, or, because yes, everybody's familiar with Zoom now, everybody's familiar with all these other things. But if you were face-to-face, you over-index on making sales calls, you sell insurance, you sell securities, you sell whatever it is, and you need that face-to-face. How do you handle that both now? I think we've done a good job kind of chronicling how you handle it now. But moving forward, what would you do? I'll listen to your answer, and I'll give my answer.
So I think the big thing to keep in mind with that is you can still, in large part, continue to do that. If you've been, and I know Eric and I know his business, so I'm obviously a little biased and, have more context to it. But, I think that you should be using these new tools to maintain that face-to-face interaction. Obviously, it's not sit down across from somebody at a table, but I've seen you more in the corner of this screen of my computer in the last 3 months than I think I've seen you the rest of my life put together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And is it the same? No. Do we get to share that bro hug when we first meet? No. But I still talk to you. I still see you. I still see your expressions, So that's one of those things that, you're still getting a lot of that. And then at the same time, like with Eric, especially just knowing his business, if you look, all of the content coming out is him. and his partner's over there, and you still see him, and you're still hearing their story, and you still feel a part of it. Yep. And ultimately, that's what you need to accomplish with whatever interaction you're having. So it's going to look different, but you can still accomplish a lot of the same things that you were trying to accomplish in the beginning.
Yep. No, that's good. It's a good question, or a good point. Eric, I'm going to take your question a little bit differently. I think the majority of people going through this, which means everybody, I'm going to take a stab at this. I'm going to say 12 to 15% of the population. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm speaking completely out of turn. Just play it out with me. Okay. I think 12 to 15% of the entire population had a social anxiety that prevented them from walking into a store or walking into a face-to-face meeting before this happened. I'm going to take a stab at that. I think at some level, we've all felt through this. The rest of the 85% of the population now has that little tinge when they walk into a store and say, am I going to get infected with this disease? So if you can put yourself in the short term, in the mindset of that smaller population, I see this as an opportunity, not as a way to have less business. I see this as an opportunity to have more business, to be empathetic to that group where you may not have been able to communicate with them properly because they have anxieties, so that you can custom tailor a portion of your business to satisfy a across the table, a non-contact, a different way of doing transactional business. And I think you should be empathetic to them moving forward, because even if 85% of the rest of the population comes back to whatever normal is, you're still going to have that segment of the population that you may not even have known existed before this. And you can tailor a portion of your program to bring those people into your circle. I think it's going to be a very smart idea to have a text platform, delivery non-contact, or whatever sort of you have to do to change your business. I think you're going to see this as an opportunity moving forward. So I hope that answers your question, Eric. I always like to take a little bit of a different approach, but I hope that answers your question.
And to add on to that too, I think that whatever that percentage is, I think you're right. And just going forward, even beyond this, whatever kind of digital, not in-person things that you're creating right now, I think they're going to have value down the road for everybody. So that portion of the population that maybe does have a social anxiety or just doesn't like going out and shopping, they still have that. But then, there's still people like you who's very much at that 85%, but like life gets busy sometimes. So, maybe it's sometimes where, you got 2 kids with 2 practices in 2 different locations and Siobhan has to work late. So maybe you have to text in an order where you would normally stop because you don't have time. Maybe it's the middle of January and there's 3 feet of snow on the ground and you're like, fuck this, I'm not going to shovel out of there. You know what I mean? So like, that's the kind of thing where for whatever reason, somebody is going to go back and lean on your digital presence or your e-commerce or whatever, be it social anxiety, be it a hectic schedule, be it a negative 20-degree wind chill. That's always going to have value for you. You know what I mean? People's behavior, it's going to change regardless. Like I know with me, sometimes, I'll walk over to my favorite restaurant when I'm allowed to do that, and you'll go sit at the bar and have a drink and then order your takeout and then leave.
Yep.
Sometimes you need to have it ordered and paid for right when you get there so you can pull up, run in, and run out. So everything that you're doing to be able to manage and succeed during all of this, it's still going to have value on the back end of it for a lot of reasons.
Great point. Judson, Kim, Dennis, thank you all for joining. Emily, thanks for joining. Judson brings up a great point. I'm going to read a little bit into his comment. He is very tired of having to give his credit card number over the phone. He's sick of it, of doing it. 2 points to that, Judson. Number one, I think PayPal is your friend when it comes to interfacing into something that you're selling to make it so easy. I use PayPal probably 3 times a week to pay for stuff. I think it's a super easy way to kind of interface it very simply. I think you can get it done, relatively easily. I'm a non-technical guy speaking here. The other thing I'm working on, with a group is Kevin. Good to see you. Oh, don't apologize that you're late, my friend. We welcome you all the time. We love having you here. The other thing I think is really going to be proficient moving forward is texting SMS and texting. I think there are companies out there that are doing this. Not many, but there's going to be more soon, where you can one time sign up for their SMS. You subscribe. It's called the double authentication, and it's all monitored. It's all monitored that way. But you can the one time you can actually tie your credit card to a server, third-party server, so that you're not giving it directly to the company. It's actually done with a firewall. So Judson, I'm actually finding that, and I have some experience. I can't speak to it just yet on a couple of projects I'm working on, but that is exactly what we're doing. We're doing a subscription, tie the credit card, so that when that company texts you and says, here is my offering for this week: box of tomatoes, box of cucumbers, box of artichokes, 1, 2, 3. You put 1 and 3, you hit send. They said, confirmation, do you want to do 1 and 3? Box of tomatoes, box of artichokes. With one letter, you put Y. It is charged to your credit card, delivered to your front door the next day. Ange, Venmo's the best. Venmo is the best. I think Venmo's a little young. I think I think 75% of the population know PayPal, but I think in 12 to 14 months, the majority of population will know Venmo for sure. So,
yeah, I think it all just comes down to removing friction at the end of the day, And I think that I think what you're seeing we see locally is that there's a lot of restaurants that are starting to lose business because you can only take so many phone calls, and you can only take 1 or 2 or 3 at a time, depending on how many lines you have. Whereas if you had an online pre-order type form where you could take as many online orders as you could, you're going to be able to double, triple the amount of business you do in your 2 or 3, hour lunch window or dinner window. So like people have said it a lot. This whole thing is going to breed a lot of innovation, and it's just going to accelerate how fast people adopt stuff.
Yep. So our buddy Kevin said he had an online appointment yesterday, and the provider asked permission to save his card info. He said it was great. He was using Square, and that's just either Square or Stripe or PayPal or Venmo insert whatever one here. No, it's phenomenal, and I think it's going to not only reduce friction but make things more efficient. You're going to be able to sit having your morning coffee, and you're going to be able to text 3 or 4 different places and have your groceries delivered. I think it's phenomenal. Also, by the way, I don't think he saw me, but shout out to Kevin Wall, who's been hustling his face off for over 2 months now, doing his own thing, recording his own live videos, and now he's getting invited onto other people's podcasts and videos. So guess what, folks? It works. So Kevin, we're watching. Don't you worry, man.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, dude.
So question to the audience, both on Instagram Live, Facebook Live. Where are you consuming your media? What less media are you consuming? What more media are you consuming? For me, I don't think I've watched, other than the Jordan documentary on ESPN, I don't think I've turned my TV on once besides news. So a little bit of news, a little bit of Jordan documentary. Now I'm going to be a little self-serving on this, but I've been just putting second screen on Twitch for the last 8 weeks. I've been watching local artists. I've been watching local people. I think that is a huge growth category. It's not just a gaming platform anymore. It's the local chefs. It's the local, all of these things. I think for me, that's been the biggest thing. Our family quarantine gift was a sound bar with a subwoofer. So we watch a couple local guys do their DJ sets, and we kind of jam and have a couple of these, and we have a great time. What about I know you said your media consumption. What about your purchasing consumption? Where are you purchasing more stuff, and why?
I think everything it's all just been online. Like, it's crazy. And I mean, I get nerdy, and I like to watch like the stuff I get retargeted with after I buy something, but like a bunch of stuff, if we're down at the lake, and then obviously you get hit with other stuff that's related, and you just like, even shirts, like finding shirts for like tall guys like me is tough. So like you just find that, and the easier it is, the more likely you are to go back. But everything outside of like food, everything has been, even on here, not even on my computer. Like we were talking about getting stuff for the lake house last night, and I'm like, oh fuck it, I'll just go look on Home Depot, and I found it and I bought it, and I texted my brother. I'm like, hey, just snagged this. There was one left in stock. So he's like, awesome. 6 months ago, we would have talked about, man, let's go to Lowe's in the morning, and we would have been late, and then stuff would have happened, and they wouldn't have had it in stock. We would have literally wasted 3 hours and we'll never get back.
I love it.
I just got an email. Hey, man, it's ready for pickup. Pull up right here. And like literally step-by-step instructions on exactly what to do. And then if they figure, and like that's the whole thing where the other thing that you got to talk about with this is, you know, folding all of this into your marketing or your branding or your sales strategy is great, but you have to reflect it with everything you do in person still. So like if we go through and do this and it is as seamless as possible and we're literally in and out in 40 seconds, like guess what I'm going to do every time I need something for anything from a home improvement store, HomeDepot.com, right? Like, so that's where if you buy into that and then everything works together, you know, your outbound communication and marketing strategy, your purchasing, you know, behavior, your website, everything matches, that's super seamless. Taven's hair is absurd.
You want to see it? Come here. Hang on.
You have to fit that far back or it wouldn't fit in the screen.
Well, come here. You got to show. So I trim the sides. Sit down. So I trim the sides. So I try to do a little.
Yo.
No, but this is going to be epic. This is like when he gets married. This is where we're going back. We're going back to these pictures.
Look at like DJ Jazzy Jeff.
There's so much.
It's we keep trying to measure because it's so curly. We keep trying to measure it. So we think it's probably what 7, 8.
It's not 7 or 8.
6, maybe 5 or 6.
No.
Yeah, that's definitely 6. Are you kidding me? Goodness. You gotta let that ride. That's legendary, dude.
I know. I gotta get it cut.
All right, get out of my show. You're gonna get your own. You get your own show with your stuff. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, of course. There goes the chat. Everybody loves Taven's hair. I know. Jim, good to see you. He says on the media side, he is definitely consuming more Netflix and YouTube. I know. Jim and his wife they love Netflix. On the purchasing side, Amazon, Lowe's, and Chewy. I think Chewy is the animal online. Does that sound right? He says he loves buying online and getting stuff delivered here. Jim lives out in the middle of nowhere. He just got his whiz bang internet figured out, so he's watching for the first time. And let's see. Ange says purchasing more movies to watch as a family than we usually would. But not spending as much going out. So yeah, I mean, there you go. It's, I think what was the movie Trolls that came out that went direct to Netflix? I mean, I think that is going to be real now. So whereas it's $20 to get one mullet fro, yes, amazing salad. There you go, T. They love it. They love the hair. Thanks for the. But yeah, $20 for a movie direct. I mean, that could be a very real thing. I saw, just out of my own experience, Siobhan's very disappointed because Top Gun got pushed back from, like June until December. And I saw a real opportunity for them to say, listen, we're going to keep it in June. I mean, I'm not kidding. Top Gun could have said, we're going to charge $39 to watch it for 24 hours. And I know this household would have paid $39 to watch that movie. I mean, but it's the opportunity. But to your point, do you take advantage of the opportunity, or are you going to stay status quo? Where are you going to walk into a movie theater in December of this year? I'm not going to. So I'm going to wait till it comes out on Netflix or whatever it is.
Well, and I think that's a big takeaway of all of this. It's made us realize there's just so much shit we don't need. But we never questioned it because it's just always been that way. And like, I just think movie theaters are good. Like, when you sit down and break it down with how big TVs have gotten and how advanced home sound systems are and like how cost effective that is, when you really sit and break it down, like if you have it available to stream for 24 hours, like who's going to a movie theater, period, after this? Like, I really want to buy that $8 popcorn. Like, no, dude. Like, so like that, like just looking at stuff like that, I think there's going to be so many things where they're like, why did we ever talk on a phone that was wired into the wall?
Right.
That's just silly today, but 20 years ago we were doing it. And I think that like this, I think is just going to accelerate and cram 20 years worth of innovation into 12 months. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Have you purchased anything because of an Instagram ad, or have you gone that far to? I mean, directly, not. I wasn't kidding. Like this. Like I literally bought this directly off an Instagram ad. Are you there? And if so, what is it?
This shirt that I'm wearing right now. Like literally, I'm not kidding. The amount of people, when you're like a 6'4" dude, but like still like average size after that, like buying regular size t-shirts is a struggle and a half. And I literally got hit with an Instagram ad that said just that. It was like, buying t-shirts for tall guys sucks. We fixed that. So I'm like, you have my attention. And I swiped up and they had a package of like 3 shirts for $50. So I bought them and I fucking love them. Yep. So like, guess what? Every t-shirt I buy now is going to be one of those. And I would have never find it. You would have never found them any other way.
Eric, another comment. Online shopping is awesome. Biggest drawback is hidden recurring charges and unwanted content that is pushed your way. Hopefully protections will evolve. That's a really interesting point. You know, when you click that box on your shopping cart and says, I agree to the terms deal, this is exactly what he's talking about. When everybody doesn't read the terms, what you're giving up is all of your information so that they can take that information and retarget you with all the other stuff they want to sell you or the associated partners that they have. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think that it's going to be like anything. As more people start to do it, and then eventually some people start to figure out that, hey, if I'm not a scumbag and I don't spam these guys right away, they're going to like me more and buy more stuff down the road. And then they do that and then they have more success. And then people see, oh, that's how you do it. I think that in a lot of ways is kind of self-correcting.
Yeah.
Because you see it everywhere with everything. You know, like my industry, for example, everybody just instantly tries to make people sign up for 18-month contracts because that's how long branding takes. And then we came in, we're like, dude, can you give us like 3 to 6 months? And then we'll go month to month after that. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And then guess what? Everyone's on fucking month to month contracts now. So I think that that's one of those things where you're always going to have scummy people that are doing it for the wrong reasons and with the wrong methods. I think that they eventually just weed themselves out, but it's so new that a lot of the first, early adopters to that are, let's get them to buy one thing and then send them 39 emails trying to send them more.
Right.
And make the unsubscribe button this big. But I feel that.
No bigger way to have somebody unsubscribe to your page is spam them, send them too many messages, or tell them when your tasting room is open. Because if they can find the information somewhere else, either on your Facebook About page or on your website, they will hit unsubscribe as fast as humanly possible. Tim, Jerry, let's see. Hey, we have our first restaurant watching. Chop House on Waring. Cool. How are you? Chop House? What are you guys doing through this? How can we help you? What questions do you have? Luke, good to see you watching. Looks like you and I are going to be doing a little bit of chatting here soon. We have something fun that we're working on. Judson comments. So actually, let me go to Kevin first. There's a great documentary called Terms and Conditions May Apply. I'm assuming that's a Netflix documentary. He says it's absolutely amazing talking about this very thing. So that's cool. Judson says, some days our kids will ask, Daddy, what is college? His opinion, biggest example of a malinvestment. That's probably a much bigger conversation, but Yeah, it's really interesting what's oh, hang on. When you have 17 screens going.
You're an overachiever.
I know, right? Yeah, no, I mean, college, obviously, in my house is a very big thing. We have 2 that are heading off. I mean, not tomorrow, but we've had the conversation about college. And you know, I think Adam's point is very, very well taken, is it's put everything under a microscope. Every penny that comes in, every penny that comes out. What is an absolute necessity for you and your family right now? You know, a lot of people got the, well, we all got the stimulus checks. Like, what did you do with that? Or if you own a business and you got the PPP money, what are you doing with that money? I'm pretty sure you're not out there buying just superfluous things and you know, through all that. But we are absolutely having that conversation in my house to say, okay, other than nurses, doctors, attorneys, you know, those kind of professions, do you really need to go to a 4-year university? Do you even need to go to a 2-year associate college to get to where you want to go? There are many, 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 many different professions right now where you can absolutely walk in and say, I have 18 months worth of experience. How can I help this organization?
I'd rather have that here. Like when we hire people, like I literally, like we talk about all the time, anytime I post a job, I'm like, do not send me a normal resume. I don't care what your GPA was. I don't care about any of that, you know? And I think that you're going to see that a lot outside of your like professional services where you need like that level of certification, doctor, lawyer, whoever. I think that there's going to be a whole lot of like, why the fuck do I need this?
Right.
Like I talk about all the time, you know, our local university here, I get asked to come talk to marketing classes all the time. And invariably there's one kid that asked me, if I want to start a marketing agency like you, what should I do while I'm in college? And I'm like, you should leave.
And then you get the look from the professor.
Oh, I can feel it. I never look, but I'm like, I can feel it. But it's just true because marketing in so many industries, and it's not exclusive to marketing, it's just the one that I'm obviously the closest to, everything out there changes. And it's not the university's fault even, but everything out there is changing so rapidly and so dramatically, it's impossible for a university to write a syllabus that's going to prepare you for what's out there.
Yep.
You can't. And I think that's true for so many things where like, if you want to do it, like just go do it. Find a place that will like let you get some kind of experience. Cause like, that's the other thing. And I feel bad. Like when I was teaching my class on campus, all these kids would just bust their ass for 4 years to be whatever. And then every job, the entry-level job that they apply to wants 3 to 5 years of experience. Like how the fuck are they supposed to do that? You know what I mean? And I think that there's so many things like that where if we stopped and took a step back and looked at it and you're like, this makes 0 sense. What are you even saying?
Yep.
And I think that this is going to be the impetus for like, let's just not do it then.
That's it.
Like, oh, I'm going to go pay $17 in movie tickets and then another $20 in concessions to be able to sit there with my friends and not look at them or talk to them for 2 hours and then leave and talk about it. When I have a 70-inch TV at home with surround sound, you know what I mean? I think there's going to be so much stuff that you just look at and you're like, why?
My point on movies is I can't stop the movie. I'm watching Rise of Skywalker. It's 7 hours long. I can't stop the movie to go. Meanwhile, I've watched it 3 times since it's come on Disney Plus. I can pause it. We can cook dinner. I can use the bathroom. I can come back to it and watch the rest of the seven hours of Rise of Skywalker. That's the point. Andrea, thanks. Let's see. Matthew, text me, would you? Andrea, Mary Beth, Tim, Susan, thanks for watching. Let's see. Andrea says, my dad told me I didn't need an MA to write a novel. I didn't listen. Looks like she got cut off on her question. She says the degree, ... Yeah, I mean, I think Judson says the same thing. Apprentices wanted. I mean, that is what he's looking for. I know he's in the financial industry. Kevin says, Mark Twain said, don't let your schooling get in the way of your education. I love it. Okay, here's Andrea's full comment. Her dad told me that I didn't need an MA to write a novel. I didn't listen to him. The degree has come in useful to get professional writing gigs, but not creative. Dad knew best. I think my opinion on that is, at that time, and Andrea, I don't know how old you are. I graduated high school in '95. It was just the thing you did back then. It was just, if you didn't put on the hat of the prestigious university that you were going to in the fall, it's like, what's wrong with that person?
Loser, yeah.
Yeah. So it was the race to the top, to the best university you can get to, so that you could put it on the banner, you could have your signing ceremony, you could put on the fresh hat, you could do all those things. But times have changed. I mean, can you imagine walking into a marketing agency, dressed with, oh, so she's a 94 grad. So there you go. So, but you and I were doing exactly what we should have been doing back then. But now we can give our kids, and then I'm assuming our grandkids, different advice. You can roll with the punches. You can pivot towards what the current market is. I mean, can you imagine walking into an agency like VaynerMedia in New York City in a suit and a tie right now? I mean, they'd laugh you out of the room. I mean, if you have flip-flops and board shorts and a comfortable T-shirt on, they're like, this guy gets it. It's just, it's really, really evolving very quickly.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm very excited about it. It's been fun so far. And I think it's it's hard to invest time and money into innovating when you don't know how long this is going to last or what it's going to look like. But I think, unfortunately, we've been in it long enough now where the people who haven't hit the gas on evolving and changing and innovating, they're starting to see fuck, I'm behind now. Mm-hmm. Whereas as the people who put that investment in, even beforehand, I talk about my buddy Alex next door all the time. Even before all of this, he invested in online ordering. He invested in new POS system. He invested in getting a mobile app made where, he's got a very, very, very talented group of people next door that helped him with targeted ads to get all that going. To see how that's paying off now, and to see the online orders come in and the delivery orders come in for his expanded delivery radius, you can see how other people look at that, and you can just read their face where they're like, fuck, I wish I did that.
Yep.
And that's why we're at a point now where we're looking at, phase 2 and phase 3 of all this stuff opening, where it's you got a decision, man. You're either going to put in the work to do that, or you're going to be wishing you did for who knows how long after.
Yep. I think for me, it's these things always come down to very simple pillars. And it is, if you want to sell something, I don't care what it is. The first thing you need to do is define what your product and service is. What are you solving in the world, either through your product or your service? The second thing you need to figure out is, who do you think is going to be the target market of who are going to be your core customers? Define your product or service, core customers. Then this is where it splits. Number one, where are those people? Where are their eyeballs? Let's say it's women 25 to 45. Where do women age 25 to 45, I call it the 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock at night, where are their eyeballs? Tell me where their eyeballs are. That's where I need to produce my content and build my brand. Now, over here, where do they typically buy things? This is where the overlap happens. Where and how do they typically buy things? Are they going to the farmer's market? Are they walking into Wegmans? Are they walking into Kohl's? Are they texting to get their canned cocktails? What are they doing? So all of this market research in a 360-degree view will give you the best shot to sell more stuff. That is it. If you do less of all of that research and less of all of those things, you will sell less. If you do more of that research and map your actions towards producing content where their eyeballs are, and making it easy for them to transact the way they're already transacting, that funnel will fill as fast as humanly possible. Guaranteed, 110%, put the money in the bank.
It's about them. It's not about you.
2 or 3 more comments here. Jim says people don't like change and the ones that don't fall behind. That's exactly right. Here's what I keep saying about that, Jim. Everybody just got pushed off a cliff. The people that were building brand before and doing the things that I just said had a parachute on their back. The people that are not doing the things that we keep talking about are trying to build the parachute on the way down. Some of them are not going to build the parachute fast enough, and they're going to hit the bottom. I'm sorry, that's crass, but that is the way it is. Andrea, to the follow-up question, you're going to maybe interview with professionals that are from different generations who still value the college education degree and GPA. Great point. If you need to change your interview resume, et cetera, to your audience, how do you know this in advance? That's a really great question.
I've never actually had a job interview in my life, so
Adam is not qualified to answer this question.
Well, so my answer would be is that I think that you can get a pretty good read on what kind of place you're walking into before you walk into it.
Yeah.
Like if you're walking into Key Branding Labs, we're not hard to get a feel for in how we roll. You know, if you're walking into, you know, PwC or Goldman Sachs or a place like that, you know, there's a certain vibe to that. And this is a more, I don't know, I guess overly kind of confident answer, but I would say, you know, the old adage is like dress for the job you want. I would roll in for the job that you want. If you're a baseball hat and t-shirt kind of guy, you know, and it's a stuffy suit and tie office, like the chances are like you're not going to be happy spending 40 to 50 hours a week there anyway. So who cares, you know? And, you know, obviously that's easier said than done. And if you really need a job to pay the mortgage and all that, like I understand that. But I think that you'd be doing yourself a huge disservice to try to change what you're doing to fit into them. If you've invested the time and the energy into yourself to make yourself valuable, I think you should be worrying about if they're a good fit for you and not the other way around.
Yep, great. I think, you know, it's a little ambiguous what she's asking in terms of, you know, if it is writing, let's say, you know, I'm not gonna pontificate about something I don't know about, but my answer is very similar in that, you know, you need to figure out what makes you happy. And I think one of the things that's really come out of this is a lot of people didn't realize they can be super productive working from home. And more important, not more importantly, just as importantly, I think a lot of employers have figured out, wait a minute, if people aren't driving in 45 minutes from Cicero to Cortland, and they're not kibitzing around the coffee machine, and they're not spending an hour worried about what they're going to have for lunch, then they're spending an hour on lunch, then they're spending the last half an hour figuring out where we're going for cocktail hour. I think productivity is going to go up. The answer to your question, in my opinion, is I agree. If you feel as though you need to change yourself to fit into the company culture, I would find an ally within that organization before you walk in there. It can be the HR person. It could be somebody, Kevin's point, LinkedIn research. Find somebody on LinkedIn first within that organization to say, hey, I am a, you know, whatever. I'm a, you know, I like to wear sundresses and flip-flops. Am I going to be comfortable within your company's organization? If the answer is yes, and you show up with an interview like that, then and you get hired, you're going to be super pumped. But if you walk in there in the 3-piece suit and you're just sweating underneath because you are so uncomfortable, you're right. That's not a good fit for you. There's going to be enough opportunities out there, and I know that sounds tough in this time because a lot of people are looking for work. But I think if you continue to find those people and continue to find those opportunities, let me back up. Working remotely, you're going to have more opportunities potentially working remotely. It sounds like Andrea's a writer. I don't know that for a fact. To me, if you're sitting down at your computer and you can be productive, what if you apply to the position in Seattle, Washington, as opposed to Syracuse, New York, or Miami, Florida, or Phoenix, Arizona, or San Diego, California. You know, these companies, we talk about people adapting quickly. It's the companies that adapt quickly to say, if I'm in downtown Chicago, if I'm a publishing company in downtown Chicago, and I pay my writers $150,000 a year, and they all traditionally have to work in downtown Chicago or live in downtown Chicago, but I can get Andrea in Casanova, New York, or upstate New York, or wherever, for $105,000 a year, and have her be remote and fly her to Chicago twice a year for the corporate whatever. I just saved $45,000 by not having her live next to the Sears building in downtown Chicago. The entire economy is changed, both on the employer side and on the employee side.
100%.
She says, great answer. Thank you for that. She said she went through hell finding her current job. Over 80 applications. Wow. So she's grateful. She said she is grateful to have the work for sure. Kevin says, wait, I'm pretty progressive. I would be pretty confused if my two wardrobe options were a 3-piece suit or a sundress with flip-flops. All I say, man, Kevin, is you do you, whatever makes you happy, man.
You don't have a sundress in your next daily do-over, I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed.
All right, last call for questions, comments. It's been super active in the chat today. I greatly appreciate it. Last call for Instagram and Facebook questions. Again, going back to our original premise, how is your personal consumption, whether it be media and or purchasing, how has that changed during quarantine? And what do you feel you're going to keep through all of this? Again, you know, I gave my swipe up Instagram cocktail, and then I also gave my local bottle shop. You know, she knew what we wanted. She listened to us, and Siobhan's going to be very happy with that purchase this weekend. So last call for those questions. I guess we're not going to have any, so that's fine. What question? We're going to finish on your question. What do you have?
I mean, it's not so much a question as just a statement. And I'm just with what we do and who we work with, just the amount of people, especially within our family of clients and just partners that have made that connection and that commitment that, like you always say, people buy from people. And my company and my customers, that's just people over here and people over here. The more that we realize how our behavior and thinking pattern and purchasing behavior and all of that's going to change, customers are going to be the same exact way. How much is it going to change? Is it going to be a 90-10 difference? Is it going to be a 60-40 difference? Nobody knows yet. Nobody knows anything about anything right now. But it's going to change. And like we talked about, even if it's not permanent, to have that option out there where you can stop in to the liquor store and, you know, see your people and get it, or you could text in the order when you're having a crazy day, or the kids are sick, or schedules are just insane, or there's a foot, like stuff like that. The more that you can kind of create those kind of opportunities today, when another pandemic or a flood or a blizzard or a recession, something else is going to happen between now and the time we check out. So the more that we can invest in that now and be really intentional and really base it off of what we're seeing, just the more success you're going to have long term. In the same way that people that were branding and storytelling before this are reaping those rewards now, this is an opportunity. How are you going to set yourself up for whatever the next thing is? And I'm so pumped for the people that have made that switch and that are going to go for it. And I am so very nervous for the people that are still hanging on to, I just can't wait till things go back to normal so we can go back to normal. And then, like you said, it's very difficult to build that parachute on the way down.
It's just, it's very, it's crazy. And Jim is in Virginia. He says the Virginia ABC, which is the state arm of the Alcohol Beverage Control Board, they're looking to start home delivery now, which if you had told me the Commonwealth of Virginia, my birth state, was going to do delivery of beverage alcohol to people's homes, I mean, they're like one of the stalwarts when it comes to that kind of stuff. So if you don't think things are changing, they're changing right before your eyes. And, you know, the reason we do this show is 3 months ago, if you had produced 0 pieces of content and told your story at that point, one of the very first things we said is start this as though we are starting with you. Start today. So if you're on month 3, Andrea, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us. If you're on month 3 and you've been listening to us for 3 months and still have not done it, please, please, please start today. Take a screenshot, take a picture of this and saying, I'm drawing inspiration from this to do my own thing. That is a piece of content to start telling your story. So that is the exact point. And the people that are, I've said this 100 times, the people that have romanticized the way to get to where you are today, it is gone. I don't care how much of it has changed. I don't care what has changed. We have changed. We absolutely have changed. So you need to either adapt, or you're going to close your doors, or you're never going to get out of the starting blocks. All of those, 2 out of those 3 things are very scary, but that's why we do this. We want people to win and draw inspiration. That's all. That's the reason we do it.
It's going to happen one way or the other.
It is. Happy Friday to everybody. Thank you so much. I think that's the most comments and questions we've had on my Facebook page, so thank you very much for that. So I will end that now. Cheers. Have a great weekend, everybody.
See you guys.